see her, guys.
Welcome to Stu and the Crew. I'm your host, Jonathan Stewart, with my co-host here, Jeremy Kelley. So glad that you guys can join us today. We have a wonderful surprise in Jake Delhomme. Delhomme.
Raging Cajun, Louisiana's finest.
Yeah.
Jake, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Can't complain.
Wouldn't do you any good
It's
if
football
you
week. It can't get here soon enough. But I've been trying to prepare for this weekend's game, and it's so hard to prepare with the preseason nowadays to actually prepare.
Yeah.
So it's
Because there's
one of those.
Is it because there's nothing to watch?
What do you watch?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're trying to watch a little bit, and then I'm very lucky, to be honest, living here in Louisiana. So I get a lot of Saints news. You hear a lot on the talk radio and things like that. So I do get a decent amount, which helps. But if we'd be playing someone else, then you're searching, you're digging, because you don't know what's going to be used this weekend.
Yeah, with your 14-year NFL career, you played for the Saints, right? So do you have access to the Saints practices ever? Do you get invited to things like that?
Now, listen, I think as most guys you play on different teams. The NFL, I think, does a great job for the alumni. They really get the alumni back. And I'm on a list I still get emails from the Cleveland Browns, Houston Texans, New Orleans Saints about activities for alumni and things
Carolina
like that.
Panthers.
Yeah, but I mean, I only do Carolina stuff. No, but you're exactly right.
Good
I
answer.
think everybody does things like that. But I don't have access. I mean, I live 2 hours from New Orleans, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think that's something that I would do. I just think there's a line you got to draw. I mean, I would never do anything to, I don't know, like give inside information or things like that. I just don't think that's right. But yeah, a lot of the people that are still with the Saints in the front office and things, those are still friends. And I still see them. I'll see them Sunday before the game. I might see them in the off season. I would never do that to those people. That's just not the right thing.
Yeah, how lucky are you that the first game gets to be in your backyard? Are you happy about that?
Okay, I'm not. I'm not happy about it. I'll tell you why. It's just very selfish on my part.
Oh.
I get so excited early in the season. Like, I can't wait to travel and go. And, like, I love when it's in Carolina for some reason. I love a game at home. Just getting to the stadium and feeling the vibe and things like that. And I like playing the Saints later in the season because having to fly a lot during the season, as most people, it kind of gets a little old. But when you play the Saints late in the season, it's like, oh, wow, I don't have to fly this week. This is an easy trip, just in and out. And so I didn't like it when I saw it week one because I'm so anxious for the season to start. Is that, it just doesn't.
That
I wish I could. Yeah, the travel can get a little hectic some, but listen, I'm gonna get up bright and early and drive on over to New Orleans and hopefully a very happy ride back home.
So tell me, why the University of Louisiana at Lafayette? Why go there?
I was offered by everybody in the state of Louisiana except LSU. I got recruited. My brother played at McNeese State, which is in Louisiana. I got recruited heavily by them. It came down to two schools, Tulane, and back then, shows my age, we were University of Southwestern Louisiana. And then Louisiana kind of went to the Louisiana system, kind of like North Carolina. You have UNC Greensboro, UNC Charlotte, things like that. So it was between those two schools. I got recruited by Army, Navy, Duke pretty heavily. And I'm going to be very honest. LSU recruited me until mid-December of my senior year. And had I been offered by LSU, I probably would have gone there. I just think the flagship university of the state, that's 45 minutes from where I live and things like that. But the decision was between Tulane and UL. And I decided to stay home and play for a coach, my offensive coordinator. And it's by far the best decision that I ever made. I'm glad I did.
That's awesome. Like, tell me, so your journey to the Carolinas, let's talk about that. Because I know that, it wasn't all rosy, for, better words of use here. Being in NFL Europe and going from, a little bit of a journeyman, right? Was there any moment in time? Is there any moment of time that you were discouraged and almost, maybe not have wanted to play this game anymore?
I never not wanted to play the game. That never came through my mind because I loved it. And we all love sports and things like that. I loved practice.
Yeah.
I loved everything about it. That's when I knew I really, really and truly loved it because I love practice. I love everything involved and things like that. And listen, started 4 years in high school. Started 4 years in college. I wasn't redshirted. I got thrown in at halftime of the first game my freshman year. And then I'm undrafted. I did very well in college, put up a lot of yards and whatnot, but undrafted. So you kind of feel like, and I didn't know any better. And you're talking back the fall of 1996. It's not like the internet was a happening thing. I mean, I think dial-up might have just been kind of starting.
Yeah, they didn't have NIL. They didn't even know what that was.
Still had the landline in your college dorm, didn't you?
Landline. I had a landline my first few years in the league. I mean, I want to say I got a cell phone in 1999. I'm being serious. Yeah. It's like we but yeah, so go to camp with the Saints and limited reps. Basically 9-on-7 is what I did. I handed off to the running back. Didn't have many passing reps besides some one-on-ones here and there, but watching the other guys, I didn't think I was naive enough. I thought, man, I'm the same size. I think my arm's stronger than the majority of them. I think I can throw it better than them. It's just you don't say anything. It's not like nowadays where rookies talk. I know in my day, you didn't say a word. You kept your mouth shut. You ate last. You sat at the back of the bus. I mean, like it was just you just shut your mouth, basically. And so as it kind of went on, I was able to make the practice squad that year. Then they sent me in NFL Europe to play. And that's where I was looking forward to going get some action and playing. And I'm the backup in NFL Europe for the Amsterdam Admirals. So that's where you kind of question, am I good enough? I mean, I can't even start in NFL Europe. Fast forward a little bit, lo and behold, I'm backing up a guy named Kurt Warner. So I knew during camp, like, man, this guy's pretty good. This guy got a quick release. He's very, very accurate. I was 21 at the time. He was 26. He was a lot more probably mentally mature. He had played 3 years of arena football. He had already played in college in Northern Iowa. He went to camp with the Green Bay Packers. He had gotten cut, and he didn't know what he was going to do. And he did the whole Arena League deal for 3 years. He was the MVP, and he was giving the NFL one more shot. He was a lot more mature mentally and mentally ready than I was at that time. And so and you couldn't help but like the guy. Yeah. So I knew the guy was pretty darn good. So anyway, don't play and then go back to training camp with the Saints. And by luck would have it, one of the quarterbacks gets hurt. Like the sesamoid ligament in his foot rips it like the first day of camp. Heath Schuler. And so I ended up getting a ton of reps. And I really did well with the reps that I was given. And so I was able to continue on, make the roster for the first 5 or 6 weeks that year. Then Kerry Collins, Carolina released him. They picked him up, got back on practice squad. That was my second year. Then they sent me back to NFL Europe again in the spring, and I played that year, did well, and we ended up winning the World League. It's back then it was NFL Europe. And so we Frankfurt Galaxy, we won it. And then back in New Orleans, go to training camp. They decide between Danny Werfel and I. Danny beats me out. Like Mike Ditka told me, and I appreciate him being honest. He goes, hey, am I keeping Danny because I drafted him? Yeah, probably so. Well, at least he didn't lie to me. But I was brought back middle part of that season and actually started 2 games that year. And then new coaching staff comes in. Jim Haslett comes in. And Mike McCarthy becomes our offensive coordinator. It was his first time being a coordinator. And that opened my eyes to NFL football. I truly understood right then and there what you're supposed to do in the offseason, what you were supposed to do as a quarterback, in essence, to get yourself ready to play. We had quarterback school, which was 7 to 5, Monday through Thursday, starting March the 1st. And that lasted until we broke camp the middle to latter part of June. And that opened my eyes to football. And from that point on, just felt very confident. If ever I got an opportunity to play, I'd be ready to go.
I'll tell you, man, you know, as someone who has experienced that journeyman life, people don't realize what you need just to take place, to get from one organization to another, to get an opportunity at another club, to have somebody get hurt, go down, hurt their foot, and now all of a sudden you could step in, right? There's a lot of different things that go into this game that is more than talent, more than ability. And when you know, as you just outlined, all of that happens in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're trying to play football. You're trying to learn a playbook. You're trying to be your best self. You're trying to manage your reps, right? And you can try to block out all those other things, but, man, just to get there sometimes you need some favor.
Yeah.
You need some things. Just, you know, the big man upstairs looks down on you and say, you know what, here goes your shot, and you were ready for it. And
that's the thing.
You know,
when you're ready for it, you got to be ready
for
it.
it.
Yeah,
that's it. And you know, as you mentioned, you were probably confident in your abilities, man. You had a great college career. You step into a situation where, you know, maybe you didn't have any expectations, and you could just go out and play, right, and play free. And then you landed, like you said, you got into a system with a great head coach and a quarterback-minded coach that was going to set you up for success, which is another piece to the whole battle, right? So, just an incredible story, man. As you just talk about it. Go ahead.
You get lucky. I mean, I think you get lucky with a lot of young kids, and let's take quarterbacks, especially nowadays. We throw these kids in; they're not ready to play. I mean, they're just not. But the pressure and with the way the media is and a fan base, they always want the next guy in. And I mean, these guys, I was lucky in that regard. I was able to sit for 6 years and watch and know what to do and what not to do, things like that. I think that was the biggest thing for me. I saw what I wanted to be whenever I got an opportunity and what I didn't want to be. But I always knew if you just stayed prepared, no matter what, that it's going to happen. And then I owe a lot to Mike McCarthy. I'll always say that. Mike was so hard on me, but in a good way, demanding. I had a quarterback tip sheet that I had to do every week, and it was I didn't want to let him down, and it was a challenge. And I'll never forget, like the first week, it was like writing this. I'm probably blowing it up too much. Like just this big essay, just making sure. I mean, I need this to pass this week, and it was just every little thing, and I wanted to make sure it was right because I didn't want to. I'm hanging on by a thread. First of all, I'm a third-string quarterback. I wanted to do what I was supposed to do, and that was a big hit. That took off. But he never let me know how much he appreciated it till later on. It was always, yeah, okay, it's not bad, but like, make sure you have this, make sure you have that, like the run tips, the pass tip, what pressure tips and things like that. And that's something that I just took complete ownership of it. But that made me mentally be so ready because there was a couple of times that I had to play during the course of that time that I went in and it was like I'd done it already. It was I'd known it. It was there. But I owe a lot to him for that.
He was grooming
you. Yeah. Again, ready.
No doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
Miyagi.
Well, when you have somebody that trusts you or that gives you that ability, hey, I trust you, and you know, that's a good feeling. I don't think I have to tell you guys that. It's a good feeling.
Yeah. Like, what was your NFL moment where you felt? Oh, because I mean, I love what you said about, you know, your preparation and you being ready, like gave you all the confidence in the world going through the quarterback schooling and just the hours and hours of preparation of just feeling confident. And, you know, when your moment comes, you'll be ready. But what was that moment?
I think there's a couple. I had some preseason moments, and I think preseason was very, very different 20 years ago than it is now because you actually played. I mean, the general rule of thumb was the starters played the first quarter in the first game up into the second quarter in the second game. You played up until halftime in the third game. That's just kind of how it went. And there was a couple of times in Carolina, Jeff Blake was the starter, Aaron Brooks was the backup, and then the next year it was Aaron Brooks and Jeff Blake. Those two, I was always going to be the three, and I knew that. So they played me a ton in the preseason, and I played early in the games, and the game was slow. The game moved slow in front of my eyes, and so you felt like you were ready. But I think the biggest one to me, we played Tampa Bay in 2002. I'm in New Orleans. I'm the backup. That's the year Tampa won the Super Bowl. They were loaded on defense, right. And we have the lead, and we're beating them. And then Aaron Brooks had hurt his shoulders a few weeks earlier, a little rotator cuff deal, and he was managing through it. But I guess it tightened up on him during the course of the game. And so I'm in, and we're up, and we're trying to run out the clock. And so we get the ball back. Tampa still has a 2-minute warning and like a timeout. So if we get a first down, game's over. And so sure enough, 8 in the box, we run the ball. 8 in the box, run the ball. Well, then it's 3rd and like 2 or 3. And I figured we're running it again. We're making them use all their timeouts, and we're just going to trust our defense. And I'll never forget Mike McCarthy on the sideline. He called the play. I left, 93 lead, Z key. And right when he said that, I remember I'm walking into the huddle. I stopped, and I turned, and I looked to the sideline. And the Z key was the opportunity to pick up the ball and throw it out to Joe Horn.
Yeah.
J.C. Horn's to dad.
Yeah.
And the key that game was a slant. We changed it up. We used to call it smoke or whatnot in Carolina, but this was a slant. And I'll never forget, in 4-minute situation, you take that off. You don't have that, so the ball doesn't get put on the ground, so the play clock can run. And I'll never forget when I looked to the sideline, and he was waiting for me to look back at him. And when I looked, he was staring directly, and it was like time froze, and he goes, "I'm trusting you." And right then and there, like, he wouldn't have done that. And so I had the opportunity, okay, if it's down there, if it's there, I'm throwing it. And sure enough, they load 8 in the box, and I had to reverse out on the play, the 93s to the left. So I had to reverse out when I formation. And I could see it was Lynch that walked down into the box. So he's in the box, and I'm like, if I'm taking a step and I'm a glance, if he moves inside to go in the run, the slant's wide open. Well, sure enough, I make it, I turn, and when I look back, I mean, it is just, and he's wide open. Joe running the slant. I throw it, and I hit him between the 8 and the 7. First down, crowd goes nuts. And I'll never forget Mike Shepard, my quarterback coach, after the game was like, "Buddy, you don't understand how huge that was." And I said, "Coach, he was wide open." I mean, he goes, "You don't understand. You can't miss the layup in that spot.
Yeah.
Many people will miss the layup." It didn't register to me at that time. It didn't, but I had done it. Like, we had practiced. I was ready. And it's like the game, it was time. But listen, that was years. That wasn't just, I practiced well for a couple of weeks. That was built up of years of preparation. And to look back and Mike, like, "I trust you." You know what I mean? That was huge. That was big for me, a big confidence booster for me.
That's awesome, man. Because it's definitely, missing those. I always think to myself, man, he was wide open.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I'm thinking to myself, man, what if he would have missed that pass, or what if he would have dropped that ball? I remember one time we played the Saints, and it was Jimmy Clausen's first touchdown. I was Jimmy Clausen's first touchdown throw, and it was broken coverage, and I was out there just basically being, I don't know, disguise. I don't know. I was just out there. Whenever I go out into this, to spread.
Decoy.
I'm a decoy. There you go. That's the word.
Musa and Muhammad feels some type of way about that word. We can tell that story later. Jake knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
But, like, when I'm out there on an island with whoever's covering me, they know I'm not getting the ball. So I just take off running, and next thing you know, I'm wide open. And Jimmy Clausen throws me the ball. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, we're in New Orleans. So the lighting and all that kind of stuff. This is my first time catching a go route, and it was underthrown, and so I had to come back to the ball. And when I came back, I was like, "Oh, I'm wide open." I caught it, and then I looked around, and then I just took off running, and then I tripped.
Forever.
I tripped because I was basically trying to, like, run really fast, but I didn't really need to run fast. It was like that in between of not knowing what I was doing. Bro, I almost messed that up.
When you have too much time to look at the ball.
Like, you're just thinking about it. It's like, right. Oh, man, you better catch this. I cradled it. I didn't catch it with my hands. I cradled it. I didn't want to mess it up. It was his first touchdown. So
running backs.
Yeah, man. But but going back to that, if I was practicing go routes and catching go routes all the time, right, I wouldn't have even thought about it. It would have just happened. So
I got to go back. Since that is a great story, but the word decoy, Jake, I done heard this story from the source, but I need to hear it from a quarterback's perspective. I want to know your side of the story.
I was not in Carolina at the time.
You weren't here.
But I'd heard about it.
Okay.
I believe this was the George Seifert day, and I think that was the 1-15 season. And
prefaces for the folks.
I was told number 87, Musin Muhammad, put duct tape over his name on his practice jersey, and he put decoy.
Someone wasn't happy with the amount of touches he was getting.
What am I here for, man? What am I here for? Just to be decoy?
Because I don't know. I mean, I've played with Moose and Steve, and I'm gonna be very honest. I don't think neither one complained too much about getting the ball, because you gotta throw them the football. Those two guys can help you win.
That's right. And having gotten to know Moose, pretty intimately over the past year and a half, it makes it even funnier because he is such a cool, calm, collect cat that you almost wouldn't see him being that type of guy, boisterous, calling attention to, but also the brother's competitive,
and he's confident. He's confident.
No
I mean,
question.
listen, receivers, they have to have. You rarely see the receivers that are not this big personality. That's few and far between. It really and truly is. And I was lucky, man. I have so many people that ask, when you see some of these other receivers demand this, demand that, and like Steven Moose, I mean, those guys came to practice every day. I mean, Moose is out of practice early every day. Richard Williamson throwing him these passes. Smitty, the way he took care of his body. It was just those guys came to play, and they wanted to play, and they wanted to win, and they blocked for each other. I'm watching video of the Saints earlier today for this weekend, and, I'm not going to call out a name, but I'm watching somebody, a receiver, and I'm like, yeah, you got to dig in and block this safety. I mean, there's positive runs, and I'm like, you know what? We didn't have that much in Carolina. Moose would come in and try to decapitate a safety, and Steve would come in and try to decapitate one, and I'm seeing somebody that really and truly didn't want to block. So, yeah,
you were blessed. You were blessed. I mean, you mentioned those two guys. You think about a Ricky Prohl. You think just tough Jersey cat, smart, knows how to play the game. We got to talk to Ricky last week on the podcast. He's just, you could talk to Ricky all day. He's exceptional, right? He's just
he is
great player, great coach. But man, to your point, you had a great receiver room. You had a great receiver room, and there's probably a couple of cats that we could mention as well. Going back, and then you look at the tight end position too, right? So, you were stacked. It was
we were. I wish I could have played, and I'm not talking about the other guys we played with, but like Coach Fox, the tight ends we had, those tight ends were supposed to be there to block. It wasn't like the Wesley Walls who could run and get open. It wasn't like the Greg Olsen, because those two guys are pretty darn similar. Those guys are big and long, and they could run.
Yeah.
And they could run and catch. I wasn't lucky. I missed those guys. And we had more of the Coach Fox. If you look at it, Chris Mangum was a starter, 7th round pick. Jermaine Wiggins, I believe, was undrafted. Jeff King was another one, 5th round pick or 6th round pick. Right. So we had those guys that were just, it wasn't like these were these elite speed guys and things like that, just tough, hard-nosed, tight end, can play fullback if you need, H-back if you need. That was kind of, our money was spent in the running back room, some O-line, wide receivers, and then on defense.
Speaking of speed, I don't think anyone knows how fast you are, Jake.
Talk about
You know what? You trying to be funny?
No. Listen, check this out. Got a story. So, 2009, you'll remember this. We're playing the Redskins at home. We were running the ball pretty well. And, 4-minute drill for everybody is basically an opportunity for, the offense to close out a game and run out the clock. And as a running back, offensive lineman, we lived for that moment. And I remember, the level of execution for this boot. We faked it to the left. It was outside zone of some sort of.
It was a run play, and I just kept it.
Oh, that's what it was. And
because they were crashing. They were
crashing.
I never ran it.
But we had it.
I can't recall if I told Steve or not. Hey, because you wanted to mention, hey, be prepared, I might keep it. You wanted to give him that, because he's coming down just to try to get force. But on something like that, he wants to come and then make as if there's the corner out there, just get in his way. But I can't remember if I told him or not.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense now, because I'm thinking about this play, and I carried out the fake as if I had the ball. Like in my mind, I'm like, either I'm supposed to have this ball, or I'm just doing a great fake right now because at this point he has the ball still. And I just remember I
told you.
I just jogged up to the left of their sideline, and I'm looking at the big screen at the jumbotron, and I see Jake just take off running so fast. I mean, not like lightning fast for anyone hearing this, but like for him, for Jake's speed, this was like his horse is running, to the finish line. And basically, man, you lower your shoulder, and it was Hall, defensive back, D'Angelo Hall, which he's on the staff here now.
That's right.
And you drag him, bro. You drag him across the. We can.
I had the angle.
You had an angle, but you dragged him. You dragged him.
I was able to get the first.
Listen, no, don't be humble.
Big country.
It is what it is. It worked out. That was one of my few highlights from the 2009
but
season.
I will tell you this. That moment was a moment for me because I was like, man, our quarterback is crazy. Like, because you got up and you were speaking your Cajun. You're like, yeah, my name, man. Like, you getting up speaking that time, and your shoulder pad was all jacked up. Like jersey just coming out.
I think my chin strap was like covered over right here. There's no doubt.
But there was no way we were gonna lose that game, and it was all because of you, man. So that was one of my most memorable moments because, sometimes quarterbacks got to put it on the line. And speaking of quarterbacks, we have Bryce Young. A lot of young quarterbacks in this league. I want to know your take on, the expectations that are set on these younger quarterbacks. You kind of spoke about it earlier as far as like how your situation went where you had time. A lot of these quarterbacks are coming in and the expectations are for them to be the next Patrick Mahomes out the gate. And not even Patrick Mahomes had to do that out the gate, right? So what's your take on where we are with football and the quarterback position?
Listen, I'll be very honest with you. I think this is year one for Bryce. This is how I'm looking at it. You look at last year, first overall pick, doesn't really have a true number one receiver. We had to give up DJ Moore, give up DJ to be able to get Bryce, some of the assets to get Bryce. And then there's expectations that kind of go through the roof, but we started 15 different combinations at the guard position last year.
Yeah.
That's not healthy. We had 3 different play callers. I mean, it wasn't a good. It just didn't happen. It was tough. He got sacked 62 times, and he got out of. I promise you, he got out of 14 to 18 sacks. I'll never forget Todd Bowles when we played them late in the year. Todd, who I think is such an underrated coach. I love listening to him talk because you want to talk about not pulling any punches. And Todd basically said something about Bryce's size, and he looked at the person. He was like, "Have you watched him this year? He's got sacked 62 times. He's gotten out of about 20 others." He goes, "This guy, the toughness is not an issue. It was just one of those deals. It's one of those years that it happened." So, listen, and going to Bryce, I'm looking forward to this year to getting a true sense of what I believe he is. I truly believe he's an accurate passer that has great anticipation. And I think you're going to see that this year. There's still going to be growing pains, in my opinion. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we skip a lot of growing pains. Yeah. That's just part of it, man. We were a 2-win football team last year, okay? So I do expect to see some big improvement. We've shored up some offensive line. I think we're going to be a heavy run football team. We've added some weapons to help him. But we've had some injuries that tied in. I mean, a couple of the guys really hadn't practiced much. So, yeah. I mean, we're going to have to, just slow progress. And so much is going to be made about the whole C.J. Stroud. And God bless him. He did great last year, C.J. But it seemed like everything kind of hit. They hit on Tank Dell in the 3rd round. Fantastic receiver. Nico Collins, a 3rd-round pick from a few years prior, came into his own. Dalton Schultz from Dallas in his prime. the offensive line. They had 2 stud offensive tackles going into the season, and CJ did a great job. And D'Amico, that right mix, the defense, it just came together. But I also remember we played Houston last year. We played them in Bank of America Stadium, and we beat them. And I'll be honest with you, go back and watch the game. Bryce played better than CJ that day. So I've seen it happen. It's just, we had a rough year. So I'm anxious to see growth from him. I think we're going to see that. And I anticipate him doing some really good things. Saw him for one drive in the preseason. But I think some of those elements, they showed up. The accuracy, the anticipation, the maneuverability in the pocket, moving up in the pocket, getting to his left, hitting Deontay Johnson on the 4th down play, going out to his right, hit him, Adam Thielen, when he's scrambling to the right, and it's before Adam even drops his hips to turn and catch the ball. Bryce lets it go and hits him on the right shoulder, talking to him, telling him to go that way, and Adam does that. The touchdown pass to Jordan Matthews, a blown coverage, and his foot, he sees it, immediately puts his foot in the ground and lets the ball go for the touchdown. So I think some of those pieces are there.
Yeah, slowing down for him.
You going back, you bring up great points, man. And when you think about, I think we're in a league and in a market of instant gratification, right? People are paying so much attention to what other teams are doing, and this guy,
right?
And now as a rookie quarterback, if one quarterback in the class before you comes in and does it,
that's the new expectation.
Now that's the bar. When really it's so unfair because there's so many. Again, if we were to go back, if all
we
of
don't
these
know
draft
the first
analysts,
preseason game last year, C.J. Stroud, they played the Patriots.
Yeah,
I remember
he had an
watching.
interception.
He looked lost.
Yes.
He looked lost.
Right,
yeah.
and you don't know.
Drake made the first preseason game this year. All you hear about, all the pundits, oh my gosh, how bad of a pick did they make? And then 3 weeks later, he should be starting over.
It's because
Brissett.
With all the podcasts and all the things that people have access to, everyone's a guru now. That's the difference now. Is we weren't hearing the people that don't know what they're talking about. We weren't hearing these people 10 years ago. Now we're hearing them because they have access to the resources to be able to be heard. I will say, though, Caleb Williams has a very special situation. I don't really know what their offensive line's looking like right now, but Roma Dunze, Keenan, DJ Moore, Komet at tight end, they added DeAndre Swift. That is, in my mind, that might be the best
they're playing
rookie quarterback situation to ever walk into in the history of football,
they're
right?
Trying to come for it right now. They are.
Hey, listen, it's a fantastic situation for him to come into, and just look at it. Keenan Allen has been a number one. DJ Moore is the number one. Roma Dunze is drafted to be the number one. Cole Kmet, I think he was a second-round pick, but they're paying him like he's a heck of a receiving tight end. So there's a ton of weapons. And listen, they want to build for success in that way, and that's great and all. I hope the offensive line can hold up for them because Chicago weather, we all know it's going to get a little difficult, but it comes into a great situation with some big-time football players that can make plays for them. Some security blankets.
Speaking of O-line, man, we almost skipped over it, and as you mentioned, the sacks that Bryce experienced last year, you're talking about shoring up the offensive line with the moves that we made. Got our own Raging Cajun, Robert Hunt.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, one of the first things noticed when we come back from this offseason, the size of the offensive line here in Carolina is drastically different than what we expected last year.
When we came down for the we had the little get together with the ex-players right about a month ago.
Production day.
We went the production day. We went on the field to watch that practice on Saturday morning, and I've been on Hunt since he was 18 years old. But I never forget, we're in the end zone suites area, and we're visiting with the fans and stuff, and the offense goes out in the field. And they lined up, and Austin Corbett lined up at center, and he looked small. when I saw that, I said to myself, okay, this is good. Because Austin is not a small human being.
Yeah.
But when you had Hunt lined up next to him, and then you have Icky, and then Taylor, and then it was
Damian
just like,
Lewis
okay,
left,
here we go.
Here we go. It's noticeably different.
Yeah, well, before we get out of here, give us your 3 keys to victory for the Saints. Playing or the Panthers playing the Saints this weekend, 12 o'clock your time.
It's here.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think the number one thing, special teams. Are we kicking it through the end zone? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
you tell me somebody that knows, and I'm going to call them and ask them. I don't know how that's going to play out. So the special teams part, I just don't know. But listen, it's going to start up front. It's going to definitely start up front on both sides of the ball. But I think we need to establish the run. And we're going to try to run the football and establish the run. Yeah. Coach Canales wants to do that. We need to do that. And that all leads to turnovers. What is it? Like if you have one turnover, it's a 78% or something like that chance you lose the game if the plus or minus one turnover battle. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Clint Kubiak, son of Gary Kubiak, comes from the whole Mike Shanahan, Gary Kubiak, Kyle Shanahan, that tree. They want to run outside zone, and they want to run the football as much as they can and create those, stretch the defense, those big windows in the passing game after you run the football. So we got to run it and we got to stop it, and it's going to come down to turnovers. I mean, listen, you can say that about every game, but truly in week one, not knowing exactly what everybody's going to do, there's going to be new wrinkles. Every team's practicing. I'm assuming we've been practicing something for 2 to 3 weeks that we haven't shown in the preseason that you just don't know. And so execution. But who's going to make a play? I mean, the NFL it comes down to making plays. I mean, which guys make plays?
I feel week one is just a heavy momentum game.
Yeah,
playbooks are going to open up. Like you said, there's not a lot of tape on this year's team, and it's going to be whoever has and can keep the momentum longer.
I agree. Well, thanks, Jake, for your time, man.
This is another thing that's key this week.
Yeah.
There is so much angst amongst Saints fans in regards to Dennis Allen and Derek Carr. I mean, listen, there's some tension there. If we can, take opening kickoff, go down, score, get a turnover, get something to happen, I'm just telling you, that Superdome is going to turn fast.
Yeah.
That is something, because Spencer Rattler had a great preseason, and especially the last game, he really threw some really good balls. And you're just starting to hear already, they just need to put Spencer Rattler in. They need to put Spencer. So I'm just telling you, that's something that we're going to have to watch. This Superdome could turn pretty darn quick if we can get some momentum. So that's going to be key.
Especially with Saints having a terrible offensive line. If Carr can't maneuver in the pocket, it might be quicker.
Oh, that's why I think they're going to run the football. I think they're going to try to, establish the run, especially with Kubiak and what they like to do with that outside zone running game.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you for your time, Jake.
Appreciate you, Jake.
Always.
Well, I appreciate you guys having
Always
me.
Fun.
Hall of Honor member, one of the original. And just thank you for your time, everyone. Make sure you tune in to Jake as he covers the Panthers this year. He's doing amazing things, doing the color analyst.
Can I finish one thing?
Yeah.
Y'all asked me a question about my come to the NFL moment.
Oh, there we go. Here it is.
When I knew Jonathan Stewart had his coming to the NFL moment, that I knew that he might not have known, but I knew right then and there, this is going to be good. The third preseason game, his rookie year, we played the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
And he broke off a 60, 70-yard run down the left sideline. Yeah. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
Okay. We knew the speed, the burst, and all that. We had a pass play later on in that game. I want to say it's the first drive of the third quarter, because we came out of half to go on a drive. And I was under center, and both linebackers mugged up. And they were gonna pressure. So right then and there, I went back into the shotgun. I gave an easy call, right? So everybody knew, hold up. I got back in the shotgun, and when that happened, it changed what the offensive line were going to do. Instead of squeezing down, now that I got in the shotgun, they were going to stay on their big men, and I was putting number 28, Jonathan Stewart, on one of their linebackers. Mm-hmm. Jonathan was going to block him. So I backed up, and he leaned in, and I changed it, and he knew, right when I went to tell him who to block, he was telling me the number, like he knew it. Yeah. But sure enough, snap, and I don't pay attention because there's trust there, and I think I throw it to Dante Rosario for a big play. It might have been a touchdown pass. I can't recall, but I threw it.
Let's call it. It was a touchdown.
Stewie hit that linebacker in the face and stunned him.
Lock him up, make him pay.
Exactly, and it was right then and there. You knew, okay, this is gonna. And for a rookie running back, because that's the one thing about running backs, they're so talented. They don't have to block in high school,
right.
And in college, they don't have to block. Yeah, you take the ball, go run. I mean, that's kind of usually what you get.
Yeah, Coach Skip did a really good job. Every meeting was basically going over protecting the quarterback, because if the quarterback's laying on his back, that means somebody's getting fired. and it wasn't
But
going to be
right then
Coach
and
Skip.
there, we knew, okay, we got one. And lucky, lo and behold, we had two. We had him and D'Angelo. So yeah, made my job very easy.
Well, man, love that. That was a great outro, man. Really appreciate you, dude. Like I wouldn't be the pro that I am without having a quarterback like yourself, because there's a lot of, details that you knew that I didn't have going into certain situations, and just being able to have that quarterback relay in the huddle, things like, hey, you got the flat. And I might know I have the flat, but it's always good to have reassurance. And that's what's really good about who you are, is you're a person that sees a situation for what it is, and you don't mind giving input where it needs to be given. So,
well, we're all in it together. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you're all in it together. If you don't know what you're supposed to do, or if somebody's, that's just the way it goes, man. Yeah. That was your best football teams. The ones that just they just took over for each other and things like that, man. Those are, and hopefully we can get to that way, because Bryce, he has that.
Yeah.
He's got that ability to kind of see it and do it. He did it in the last preseason game. Play clock was running down. He aborted the fake. He aborted the motion real quick. Called him in. His eyes, you don't see any whites in his eyes. He's just looking. Called him in. Got him set. He has that. So I'm looking forward to a big jump.
All right, man.
Okay, guys.
Jake,
right, thank you.
Pleasure.